Kyle texted, "We have concluded the matter. Retrieve your belongings from the storage unit." The dim light in the hallway illuminated my exhausted face as I stared at my phone, unable to believe what I was seeing. The apartment that used to be my home. The new lock on the door gleamed mockingly under the light, a sight as foreign to me as the indifference in Kyle's message. "I am Samantha Delaney. I am 47 years old, and I just spent 10 days sleeping in waiting room chairs while my sister Vanessa recovered from emergency surgery. During those 10 days, I survived on sandwiches from the hospital cafeteria and coffee from the vending machine. I was only 10 days away from my 15-year-long marriage. It seemed that was all it took for him to decide our marriage was over." I slumped against the wall, my legs suddenly unable to hold me up. Strange shadows stretched across the floor as the hallway security light flickered. With trembling fingers, I scrolled through the remaining messages from Kyle. "I've moved your things to Unit 23B at Westside Storage. The keys are under the mat. I pawned your jewelry. It wasn't worth much anyway. The Toyota is sold. It was never driven by you. My grandmother's necklace. Our wedding jewelry. Kyle had given me pearl earrings on our 10th anniversary. Now it was all gone. The car I had saved for years to buy. The only thing that truly belonged to me, sold without my knowledge or consent." I pressed my hand against the door that once opened to the life we had built together. Teaching at the same high school. Weekend trips to Lake Tahoe. Grading papers and quiet evenings side by side. 15 years of memories now locked behind a door I couldn't open. A cold, hard sensation filled my chest. In that moment, in the solitude of that hallway in Reno, Nevada, I made a decision. I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't plead. I wouldn't camp outside the apartment or make 60 consecutive phone calls. Instead, I responded with a single message. "You will regret this." Then I blocked his number. I found the storage key exactly where Kyle had indicated and made my way across town. When I opened Unit 23B, it was filled with nothing more than a few cardboard boxes and trash bags, small and dusty. My publications. My clothing. He didn't want certain kitchen items. 15 years of marriage reduced to less than a cubic meter of discarded belongings. To visit Vanessa the next morning, I booked a room at a budget motel close to the hospital that night. As I lay on the stiff bed, staring up at the water stains on the ceiling, I realized something. It should have terrified me, but instead, it felt oddly liberating. I had nothing left to lose. I never imagined that at 47 I'd be starting over, but life has a way of catching you off guard. Sometimes the surprise feels like a knife in the back. 20 years ago, I met Kyle at a teachers' conference in Sacramento. He taught physical education while I taught art. We connected over our shared frustration with administrators who never understood the importance of creative expression in education and the budget cuts. Kyle was charming at that time. He was the type of person who always remembered everyone's name and never missed a birthday. The type of person who would bring me my morning coffee just the way I liked it and help me hang student artwork before school exhibitions. I believed he would never leave me. Our marriage wasn't without flaws. Whose is? We had been going through a rough patch ever since Kyle failed to land the athletic director position. He withdrew, spending more time at the gym and less time with me. I suggested therapy, but he refused, saying we just needed time to work things out. Then Vanessa's appendix burst and everything changed. There was no one else for my sister. She had never married and our parents were gone. I couldn't leave her in that hospital fighting for her life. It was my belief that Kyle comprehended that. I believed that my 15 years of marriage had garnered me at least that much trust. I was mistaken. I sat in Vanessa's hospital room the morning after I was locked out, attempting to maintain a steady tone as I recounted the events. She murmured, her visage still pale from surgery, "That absolute bastard. I will terminate his life." I responded, astonished by the tranquility I experienced. "You should concentrate on improving yourself. I will resolve this matter. What is the destination of your journey? What actions will you take?" Her distress was evident in the increased frequency of the beeping of the heart rate monitors. Despite the fact that my existence had just imploded, I felt an odd sense of protectiveness as I grasped her hand. "I have some savings. Not a significant amount. However, it is sufficient to secure a modest residence for a few months. Additionally, I have been contemplating the university's arts administration program. It may be time for me to submit my application." Vanessa addressed me by my childhood moniker, Sam. You are not required to maintain an act with me. It is acceptable to experience disintegration. I gazed out the window at the Sierra Nevada mountains in the distance, their summits adorned with early snow. I stated that I am not deceiving. I am exhausted from the time I have wasted on an individual who could so easily squander 15 years. I was able to secure a modest studio apartment that evening on the basis of my teacher's salary. It was situated in close proximity to the school where I taught and had just enough space to accommodate my diminished possessions. I became aware of an oversight that Kyle had made as I began to unpack my remaining possessions. My digital artwork portfolio, which is stored on an external hard disk. I received divorce documents in the mail 3 months after Kyle changed the locks. He had attributed our separation to irreconcilable differences. I nearly burst out laughing at the clinical term that described the situation. The magnitude of returning home to discover that your possessions had been sold, your marriage had been terminated via text message, and you were destitute was not fully captured by the term, irreconcilable differences. Shared assets were specified in the legal document. Everything of value had been claimed by Kyle. The furniture, the apartment, and our mutual savings account. He had even withdrawn half of my retirement fund. He was entitled to nothing else, according to his counsel, as I had abandoned the marriage by residing with my sister during her health crisis. I sat at my diminutive kitchen table, gazing at the papers until the words became hazy. The agony that I had been suppressing was on the brink of engulfing me. I briefly entertained the idea of contacting Kyle, demanding an explanation, and advocating for what was legitimately mine. Afterward, my phone vibrated with a notification. An email from the university. With a partial scholarship, I had been admitted to the Arts Administration program. Classes would commence in 6 weeks. It seemed to be a portent. I could potentially spend months, if not years, litigating against Kyle in court regarding his material possessions. Alternatively, I could allocate that energy toward the reconstruction of my existence. The lawyer Vanessa had insisted I consult was greatly frustrated when I signed the divorce papers without contesting his claims. He is departing with everything. The attorney issued an advisory. You are entitled to substantially more than this. I responded that I am aware of my entitlements. I will retrieve it in my own manner. I contacted my principal that evening and tendered my resignation from my teaching position, which will take effect at the conclusion of the semester. A 10-minute conversation concluded 20 years of service in the public school system. I experienced a brief moment of remorse for the pupils I would be leaving behind. However, I was aware that this was essential. I was unable to take the chance of encountering Kyle in the faculty lounge or the parking lot. I was unable to instruct in an environment where individuals would discuss my failed marriage in whispers. Vanessa was dubious when I informed her of my decision. She argued, you are allowing him to prevail. Your life prior to his arrival was spent at that institution. That is the issue, I stated. I am reminded of Kyle by every aspect of Reno. The educational institution. Our preferred dining establishments. The park where we used to stroll on Sunday mornings. Clean breech is required. After that, what happens? She inquired. You will receive your degree, and I presented her with the digital art portfolio that I had been developing. Animations, interactive designs, and illustrations that I had developed as a leisure over the years. I explained that art therapy programs throughout the nation utilize digital tools to assist individuals in the process of processing trauma. I have been conducting investigation on them. I could create something comparable with my previous teaching experience in this degree. Her expression softened as Vanessa examined my work. Sam, these are exquisite. However, the establishment of art therapy programs necessitates years. Additionally, you must consume sustenance during this period. I stated that I have submitted an application for a night position at the university library. I will be able to manage with the assistance of my scholarship in that. Van, I am obligated to make an effort. I require an item that is entirely my own. I felt the first stirrings of something I had not experienced since discovering the new lock on my apartment door as I left her house that evening, as the winter sun set behind the mountains. Hope. A rhythm emerged in my new existence. Number of days spent in instruction. Evenings at the library. I work on my portfolio late into the night. Kyle and the things I had lost were scarcely on my mind, which was precisely what I required. Professor Winters accosted me after her grant writing seminar 6 months into the program. At 60 years of age, she was a formidable woman with silver hair and penetrating blue eyes that appeared to stare directly at you. She stated, "Your project proposal was exceptional," in a matter-of-fact manner. "The digital art therapy concept has the potential to be successful. I am grateful." I responded, attempting to conceal the extent to which her approval meant to me. The Carson Foundation offers a summer fellowship. It provides financial support for inventive arts initiatives that have a social impact. She presented me with a brochure. "Next week is the deadline. I recommend that you submit an application." I continued to work on my proposal until dawn that evening. A digital art therapy program that is easily accessible and is specifically designed for individuals who are undergoing significant life transitions, such as divorce, bereavement, or illness. Users would progress through guided creative exercises that facilitated the processing of their emotions through visual expression. I referred to it as Canvas Art Therapy Reimagined. The fellowship was awarded to me 2 months later. While it was not a life-changing sum of money, only $15,000, it was sufficient to create a pilot iteration of the program. I employed a programmer from the computer science department to assist in the development of the platform and dedicate all of my leisure time to content creation. Canvas was prepared for limited dissemination by the time I completed my master's degree. We extended an invitation to 50 individuals to evaluate the program. Patients with cancer, individuals who have recently divorced, individuals who have experienced the loss of a loved one. The majority of their responses were favorable. One participant wrote, "I was able to articulate my emotions without the need to search for the appropriate words for the first time." Another individual composed, "I eagerly anticipate my Canvas sessions each evening. Consequently, it is aiding in my personal reconstruction." With the remaining funds from my fellowship, I have acquired a modest office space in downtown Reno. It did not amount to much. A workstation, a computer, and a view of the city where my former life had unraveled were all that was left. However, it belonged to me. On the 1-year anniversary of Kyle's Lock Change, I officially launched Canvas. 30 subscribers were acquired during the initial month. The second month, 50. By the third month, the platform was utilized by more than 100 individuals on a consistent basis. It was insufficient to provide me with financial stability. I continued to work at the university library on 4 evenings each week. However, it was expanding. Then the email that altered everything arrived. "Ms. Delaney, I am a producer at National Morning. Our team was informed of the experience of one of our employees who has been employing your Canvas program to manage her mother's cancer diagnosis. We are interested in incorporating Canvas into our innovations in mental health segment. Is it possible for you to participate in an interview?" The email caused my hands to tremble as I read it. Millions of individuals throughout the nation tuned into National Morning. Canvas could be transformed from a struggling startup to a recognizable brand in an instant with this type of exposure. Vanessa was promptly contacted. She declared, "This is it," her voice trembling with anticipation. "This is the method by which you demonstrate to Kyle the items he discarded." I took a moment to reflect on the significance of the situation. "Kyle has not been on my mind for months," I said slowly. "This is no longer about him. This pertains to my creations." This was indeed the case. I had ceased to define myself by what I had lost at some point in the late evenings and early mornings, in the code reviews and content creation, in the feedback sessions and grant applications. I had assumed a new identity. Someone I preferred to the woman who had been so distraught in that hallway. I was unexpectedly visited by a visitor at my modest office the day before the interview was scheduled to broadcast. Janet, my erstwhile colleague from the high school art department, stood in the doorway, her expression betraying an uneasy feeling. She stated, "I trust that you do not object to my visit. I observed the advertisements for your interview tomorrow so I figured it would be beneficial for you to be informed. Kyle has been terminated." It was evident that Janet was uneasy with her role as an emissary as she sat on the edge of the chair opposite my desk. She clarified that he has been reselling athletic department equipment, uniforms, weights, and even electronics from the coach's office. The inventory discrepancies were observed by the new athletic director, who subsequently initiated an investigation. Pawn store receipts were discovered throughout the city. As I processed this information, I experienced an unusual sense of detachment. For how long had it been ongoing? It appears that the period exceeds 2 years. Initially it was modest, however in recent times. She hesitated. Since your departure, his circumstances have been adverse. He has been consuming an excessive amount of alcohol. Classes that are absent. The administration was already on the brink of disciplinary action when this information was disclosed. 2 years. I was cognizant of that chronology. Kyle had initiated his larceny approximately concurrently with his withdrawal from our marriage. Prior to Vanessa's emergency or the apartment door being secured, Janet stated, her voice quivering. There is more. The automobile. Your Toyota. The sale is currently under investigation by the authorities. Your signature on the title transfer was apparently forged by Kyle. The DMV flagged it when the new proprietor attempted to register it. I contemplated the vehicle that I had been saving for years to purchase. Kyle had sold the vehicle without my knowledge or consent. The vehicle whose loss had served as a symbol of the complete destruction of my independence. Will they file charges? I inquired. Sam, it is a criminal offense. Title fraud. Forgery. They are grave offenses. He may be sentenced to imprisonment. Should I have felt vindicated? Wasn't this the promise I made when I texted, you will regret this? Nevertheless, I experienced a sense of emptiness. The individual that Janet described. Consuming alcohol. Theft. Forging of documents. I was unfamiliar with him. I observed the sun set over the mountains as I sat in my peaceful office after she departed. Tomorrow, my interview was scheduled for 7 a.m. Eastern Time, which corresponds to 4 a.m. in Nevada. I should have been reviewing my talking points and preparing for inquiries. Instead, my thoughts were directed toward Kyle, attempting to reconcile the man I had married with the individual he had evolved into. An incoming call rang on my phone. Although the number was unfamiliar, the Reno area code provided sufficient information. I responded without communicating. Samantha? Kyle's voice was harsher than I remembered, with a hint of desperation. Kindly refrain from disconnecting. I maintained my silence. I observed the advertisement for your interview. You appear to be in an excellent condition. I am delighted for you. I refrained from uttering a word. I am aware that you are familiar with the institution. Regarding the automobile. Sam, I made a mistake. I caused a complete disaster. His voice ceased to function. I have been attempting to contact you. For several months. For more than 1 year. A total of 365 messages. You did not respond. I was unaware of the communications. I had blocked his number in the hallway that evening and had never unblocked it. The digital void had swallowed up any messages he had sent. Please provide a response. Ultimately, I articulated my thoughts. Kyle, what do you desire? Please accept my apologies. I would like to provide an explanation. I stated that I do not require your explanation. I was taken aback by the stability of my voice. Whatever you did, whatever your motivations were, it is no longer relevant. Sam. False. I stated it with conviction. You are not permitted to address me in that manner. You are not free to maintain the illusion that we are still in close contact. You dismiss me as if I were of no consequence. My possessions were sold by you. You have shut me out of my own residence. He murmured. I was in a state of desperation. I had gambling obligations. Stop, I interrupted. I was terrified and inexperienced. Excuses are not of interest to me. You made your decisions. Now you are confronted with the repercussions. There was an extended period of silence. His voice was lifeless when he spoke again. The police are requesting that I surrender myself tomorrow. Subsequently, that is the appropriate course of action. Will you have returned from New York by that time? Would you be willing to convene? Is this the only time? I closed my eyes. The weight of our shared history is bearing down on me. 15 years of matrimony. The excellent and the bad. The existence we had established. And the manner in which it concluded. I stated finally. I do not believe that would be beneficial for either of us. Before he could respond, I terminated the call. I then switched off my phone entirely. I had an early departure to catch. And a new future to embrace. Kyle was a member of my past. The National Morning Studio was a flurry of activity. Production assistants with headsets hurried past. Equipment was adjusted by camera operators. Additionally, The hosts and visitors were attended to by makeup artists. I attempted to alleviate my anxiety by sipping water in the green room. Delaney, you have 5 minutes. I was informed by a young woman who was carrying a clipboard. My blue blazer sleeves were smoothed as I nodded. The most professional item in my modest attire. My pulse beat against my ribs beneath the jacket. The makeup artist reassured me that I would look fantastic as she applied the final touch of powder. It is important to maintain your gaze on Jessica, rather than the camera. Jessica Chen, the presenter of the innovation segment, was known for conducting insightful interviews. Nevertheless, I entertained potential inquiries in my consciousness, practicing responses regarding the development of Canvas and its influence. I was unprepared for her initial inquiry subsequent to the commencement of the recording. Samantha, Canvas was an outcome of your personal experience with transition and loss. Would you be able to provide us with information regarding that journey? I was momentarily paralyzed. We had concentrated on the program itself, rather than my personal history in all of our pre-interview communications. However, as I gazed into Jessica's compassionate eyes, I came to the realization that this was an opportunity to connect with individuals who may be in the same position as I was, feeling vacant and despondent, and in need of a path forward. I initiated the process 2 years ago. Upon my arrival home, I discovered that the locks on my apartment had been altered. My husband had sold my vehicle, pawned my jewelry, and ended our 15-year marriage via text message. I smiled slightly, conscientious of the camera, but I addressed Jessica directly. To put it mildly, it was disorienting. Jessica's expression was expertly poised between professional interest and empathy. How did you transition from that moment of crisis to the creation of Canvas? I elaborated on my experience. The arts administration program, the fellowship, and the late evenings spent creating content. I came to the realization that I had come a long way since that fateful evening in the hallway as I spoke. I came to the conclusion that Canvas is not solely about the processing of mourning or trauma. It is about reclaiming your narrative, discovering beauty and significance in the midst of disorder. The focus is on the reconstruction. During the interview, time seemed to pass quickly. We deliberated on the scientific underpinnings of art therapy, executed a program demonstration, and exchanged user testimonials. Prior to my awareness, Jessica had concluded the segment. Canvas is currently accessible to individual subscribers. However, you have more ambitious objectives, correct? I nodded. Next month, we will introduce an institutional platform that is intended for use by schools, counseling centers, and hospitals. We have already established partnerships with 3 significant healthcare networks to provide Canvas to their patients. A program that originated as a personal healing voyage has experienced remarkable growth. Samantha, we are grateful for your willingness to share your narrative with us today. Jessica leaned over as the camera ceased to operate. That was exceptional. You are an innate talent. I returned to the green room and examined my phone. Despite the fact that the segment had aired less than 5 minutes ago, my inbox was already overflowing with messages. The traffic influx caused the Canvas website to crash. Interview requests from 3 additional news agencies and 14 partnership inquiries from healthcare providers were included in my personal email. A message with the subject line, "I saw you on TV," was included among them. Kyle was the source. Although my finger was hovering over the delete icon, I was compelled to open it by an external force. This morning I will surrender to the authorities. Forgiveness is not something I anticipate. I simply wish to convey my sincere apologies. The sole consolation in this ordeal is witnessing your success. You are deserving of all the good that is forthcoming. Samantha, I bid you farewell. I did not respond to the email and instead closed it. I would have to leave Kyle to find the closure he required. I was responsible for the repair of a website that had collapsed, the scheduling of interviews, and the evaluation of partnerships. I had an existence to live. One that was no longer centered on the individual who had previously believed that he could discard me. Canvas had achieved greater success than I had anticipated 2 years after the national morning interview. We had a team of 20 employees, offices in Reno and San Francisco, and a global user base of more than 1.5 million. Our institutional platform was currently being implemented in hospitals throughout the nation, and we had recently implemented a specialized program for veterans with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. I was in New York once more. this time to accept an award at the Digital Health Innovation Gala. An elegant hotel ballroom was the venue for the event, which was attended by investors, healthcare administrators, and tech entrepreneurs. I experienced a combination of pride and disbelief as I sat at my table and observed the remarks of the other honorees. How did the woman who was broken in that hallway transform into the founder and CEO of a flourishing company, who was about to receive recognition from industry leaders? Samantha Delaney, the creator of Canvas, has been awarded the Impact Award for Mental Health Innovation, as announced by the host. As I made my way to the stage, the applause was deafening. James, my 8-month-old partner, was beaming from our table, and I could see hundreds of faces gazing back at me from the podium. I expressed my gratitude with a voice that was both clear and unwavering. Canvas originated as a result of necessity. Upon the dissolution of my existence, I required a method to reconstruct the pieces. I came to the realization that creativity is not merely an escape, it is a means of healing. As I proceeded with my speech, I observed an object at the rear of the room. A person who is well known is at the exit, observing with great attention. Kyle. Older. Reduced in thickness. His once confident demeanor is now slightly stooped. I maintained my composure. No, I did not acknowledge him. I merely persisted in discussing Canvas. Regarding our future aspirations. Regarding the millions of individuals whom we aspire to assist. In conclusion, I would like to share a recent message that a user sent to me. Canvas assisted me in acknowledging that my narrative did not conclude with my loss. It was merely the commencement of a new chapter. I aspire for Canvas to provide this to all users. Not only does it provide rehabilitation, but it also allows them to rewrite their narrative. The audience responded with a standing ovation. Kyle disappeared as silently as he could as I observed him slip out the door from the corner of my eye. As he had appeared, James and I were conversing with guests after the ceremony when an event coordinator approached me. Ms. Delaney, there is an individual who wishes to engage in a private conversation with you. He asserts that it is crucial. I was aware of his identity prior to her elucidation. Inform him that I will be waiting for him in the lobby in 5 minutes. James appeared apprehensive. All is well? I reassured him that everything would be all right. I have a few unresolved tasks. I will not be absent for an extended period. Kyle was perched on a bench near the hotel's stately entrance, his worn suit appearing out of place amidst the polished marble and crystal chandeliers. Upon observing my approach, he rose to his feet. He expressed his congratulations with a strained voice. The award was mentioned in the business section. I trust that you do not object to my attendance. How did you gain entry? I inquired. I informed them that I was affiliated with Oak Ridge Health. Is it correct that they are one of your partners? His previous smile reappeared as a phantom. I have been monitoring your accomplishments. I experienced no sensation. I am not angry. Not contentment. Not even sympathy. Just a profound neutrality, as if I were conversing with a stranger who occurred to share some of my memories. When I failed to respond, he informed me that I had served 14 months. Upon demonstrating excellent behavior, I was granted early release. I am currently employed in the construction industry. It is a sincere endeavor. I am pleased to hear that, I replied. Additionally, I intended it. I did not intend to cause him harm. I did not extend any sentiments to him. I am constantly reflecting on the items that I discarded, he continued. Not only our marriage, but the individual you were developing. I had the opportunity to participate in this. He made an ambiguous gesture toward the ballroom. No, I replied with tact. It is impossible for you to have done so. This occurred as a result of your departure. His expression alternated between incredulity and comprehension. My new existence, my success, and the canvas. If he had not barred me out that night, none of it would have existed. I should leave, I mentioned. My companion is anticipating my arrival. Are you content? He inquired, his voice scarcely audible. My future continued to unfold as I gazed back toward the ballroom, where James was conversing with colleagues. My award was glistening on our table. Indeed, I stated. I am. Kyle's voice echoed in my ears as I departed. Samantha? I swung around. You were correct, he stated. Every day, I harbor remorse. I acknowledged his words by nodding once, but I did not respond. After that, I returned to the celebration. to the existence that I had constructed from the ground up. An existence that was finally entirely my own. Upon reflecting on my voyage from that desperate night in the hallway to my current status as the founder of a successful company, I have come to the realization that the most effective form of retribution is not always causing harm to others. It pertains to guaranteeing that they can discern precisely what they have forfeited,